Terry Lovelace. I'm here with Erin Montgomery as usual. Say hi, Erin.
Hello.
We have Phoenix Jansen. I met Phoenix through a mutual friend, Sheila Gay from Rogue Radio. And Sheila we were supposed to get together and go on a ghost hunt this year. And I'm sad to say we're not going to get that opportunity. Sheila Gay passed away not long ago, a couple of weeks back. So anyway, I'd just like to give a shout out to her and to Kirby, her co-host, and but give a big welcome to Phoenix and say thank you for being here. And a little bit introduction. Phoenix is going to talk to us about spirit and about being a lifelong psychic and having few people that she could share that gift with as a child. And at the age of 6, she discovered the fascination with playing cards and realized that she could use these playing cards to read messages and get messages kind of like as a medium. Is that accurate? Phoenix, is that right, you think?
Not so much as a medium back then, it would not be, but as from a psychic standpoint, mediums read spirit in another form. Playing cards, they speak to me. They speak to everyone that reads them. A little bit different than a medium is, I would say that's a psychic, something that comes from when you're sitting in front of a person and you're pulling the cards for that person. It's special, very special. So when you're pulling those cards, you're reading that person's spirit, and those cards are reading the spirit, and you can recognize from what the cards are telling you what's going on with that human spirit.
Now, and I know that you visited a cemetery in Alabama when your half brother passed, I believe.
Correct.
And you made a connection with him. That was kind of psychic connection, medium connection. It was you connected with his spirit and were able to have a dialogue, a communication with him.
That absolutely was. That is a very good point. It was like with a medium, you connect with a spirit. But in this particular case, I connected with an ancestor that had passed. So as the years have gone by and I've grown and educated myself in many different areas of the esoteric world, spirit, in this particular case that you're talking about, I visited the grave to find out that I had a half brother. And when I went there, I did connect with that spirit. I absolutely did. And I believe that, again, I was about 12 years old when this happened. And I had spent my entire life trying to understand why I knew things that other people didn't. So I guess I could say I was born this way. I had a twin who died at birth. And I used to try to think when I was a child that there was some connection there, but I was never really able, nor have I ever been, to exactly pinpoint that. But I think ancestors are very important to us because they have a deeper connection. My connection with my half brother gave me the confidence to move forward with the fact that I have abilities and that I could actually, there are spirits around us. He was confirmation to me when he came through that window that night after I had visited his grave earlier in the day. It was confirmation to me that all the things that I had felt and heard and the information, intuition that I had had my entire life was real.
That had to be an epiphany. That had to be a moment that you probably would never forget.
Absolutely.
That confirmation, validation that everything that you suspected all these years, at age 12, you finally have confirmation that it's real and you really can do this stuff.
I did. And I think that connection was more ancestral than any other connection that I have ever had. And I have had many.
You know, we got one thing in common too. And then I want Erin to jump in here because I don't want to monopolize the whole conversation, but we have one thing in common. That is, and you saw three lights in the sky.
I
You
did.
actually
Oh,
predicted them. I saw three lights in the sky. I didn't predict them. They kind of did what they wanted to do, but
I didn't
um,
know that.
yeah, that was the incident that I had at Devil's Den State Park in 1977. I saw my friend and I were camping, and that's how this UFO manifest. We saw three tiny, like a cluster of three little
That's
stars.
right. I do remember reading that. Yes.
So yeah, so we got that in common,
Hmm.
and they responded to you. If I understand right.
Well, in effect, yes. When I came back from my vacation in the summer of when I was 12, um, I met someone. I learned to roller skate, and I met my boyfriend, David Eford. We're friends today, believe it or not, after all these years. Um, but very special time in my life, and I found out that he liked to go ghost hunting. Wow, what a connection. I'd never had anyone like that before, never in my life. It was always something that I pretty much was on my own with. And it was an amazing, amazing thing. So we decided to go ghost hunting, and we went to this lake, and they said that you see lights there. People were saying this. So we went one night, and we were sitting there. And all of a sudden, I had that feeling, you get this feeling in your chest, and you just know there's something there. And I said, in a couple minutes, well, I think it happened almost immediately. It's been a long time. I said, three lights is going to come across this lake. And they did. And he was impressed.
I bet.
And I was amazed. I was absolutely, oh my goodness, someone has actually seen that, I can do this. Do I feel like I connected with those lights? I do. I feel like they telepathically told me that they were going to appear. Yes.
The lights I connected with were connected with me were extraterrestrial, but
Yes.
light can manifest from spirit too, and be part of this. You believe we all come from a soul group. You talk about ancestors. Is that bloodline kind of important?
It's very important. I believe that all religions lead to one religion, and I believe that all religions has a guardian protector over their culture, but all religions lead to one religion. I do believe this.
Yeah, yeah. It makes
Um,
sense. There's a common source. There has to be.
it
I
would
mean,
only make sense. And yes, I believe that if the guardians that guard that say our spirit guides, I believe we all have a spirit guide. I believe this was a gift at birth. We may live our entire lives and never know who the spirit guide is or never connect with them, but they are there. They are there.
comfort.
And I believe that we have the same spirit guide all the way through, unless our bloodline changes. And if our bloodline changes, then we may have another spirit guide of another culture.
Okay.
I do believe this.
So you've
Have
been
you
in
worked
ghost hunt.
with?
Yeah, Aaron. Aaron, you're more connected with ghost hunts. I've never been on one in my life. I was hoping to go with Sheila.
Well, we're
Right.
going to fix that real soon.
Okay, good, good. I can't wait.
It,
I
it is
wanna
it
go to
is time for him to experience spirit in that fashion, I think.
Absolutely. It would be amazing. I would love that. I would love for you both to go. It would be so much fun. Tell me about your spirit. Tell me about spirit and and how you interact.
Go ahead. That's yours, Aaron.
I guess that's a loaded question. I have like you since a child had connections, but also like Terry am an ET contactee. So I think that honestly the two go together. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Are you psychic and that's why you're chosen by the ET, or does ET contact wake up these abilities? I'm not sure, but I was always interested in these different kinds of energies I would feel around me. I would receive messages like you, oftentimes hearing my name whispered behind me, and boy, that can be spooky.
Mhm.
That can be real spooky to be alone in a room. I remember I was making the bed one time and heard somebody whisper my name, and I knew I was alone in the house. So that can always be disquieting, if you don't understand what is happening. I don't think it would scare me at this point of my life, but it sure did when I was a kid. I remember being able to receive messages from a friend of mine who had died when I was in junior high, and seeing like a energetic outline in the room with me, and being pretty spooked by that and not really understanding why he would come to me. I mean, I wouldn't even say he was a friend. He was just a kid who sat behind me in science class. So that was one of my first experiences of contact from beyond. Um, but as time has gone by, and honestly, with the birth of my second child, those kinds of abilities increased, and I have been able to since then like see spirits, be able to understand the communication and the different types of communication that I receive, whether it's just emotions or if I'm receiving thoughts and pictures. Sometimes I can hear conversations. I can actually have a back and forth. So it's been really exciting life, honestly, to be able to grow and learn how to communicate with beings that are not necessarily physical like we are here. Um, when it comes to ghost hunting, I was a part of a ghost hunting team when I lived in New Mexico, and I had a lot of fun with that. And we would test each other before going in because several of us were psychic, and we would ask questions. Okay, so what are we going to find? What information is available now? And then go into the site and see if it matched up. And it was pretty intense and exciting. The scariest time, I think, that during a hunt was realizing that the entity that we were interacting with was a person that was still alive. So it was more of a poltergeist, and that was more difficult for us to wrap our minds around, I
Mhm.
think, than somebody who had passed on.
Wow. Wow. Well, you have an amazing, you're far, far along in your abilities. My goodness. Um, that's amazing. Because what you were saying earlier, that which comes first, the chicken or the egg, and you wonder if the spirit contacted you. What I believe, and this is only what I believe that having planetary beings is nothing new for me, and I've recognized them my entire life. It's not something. It's not an esoteric thing for me. But what I believe is the planetary beings, as you were speaking, contacted you. I believe they already knew you. I believe that people live many lives on many different realms, and the soul never dies. So I think that somewhere in your lives, you probably knew them, and they contacted you, and you was able to grow your abilities. You called in your power. You called in your abilities.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I do have memories of being in a different place with different, not as a human. So that doesn't surprise me.
Mhm.
Um, are you aware of your own other lives? I'm curious.
When the more I researched as I got older, when I was 20, I had a child, and this child they did not think was alive to birth it, and I believed that it was. I totally believe that it was, and I never really. I learned a lot about spirit, but when this child was born alive, and spirit kept saying, this child's alive, this child's alive, this child's going to be alive, and he was. And ever since then, um, I started working on my abilities, and believing in spirit and listening to the things they will teach you. They will teach you many things, and it'll come from many different directions. But I started studying the ancestral realm of how that works. And the more I did, the more I realized that I could call back power. I could call back the things that I knew. So I can't honestly say that I remember past lives, but I can honestly say that I can call in powers that I have no idea how they come in. And when I say powers, I'm talking about stronger abilities. I'm talking about being able to build on something. I have awakenings to this day. I'm in an awakening. I have been in an awakening that's bringing me deeper into spirit, reading deeper as a psychic medium. I started doing things I wasn't aware of. I mean, I just didn't understand how they were coming to me. And I said, okay, explain this to me. Tell me what's going on. Spirit, tell me what's going on. Spirit guides, tell me what's going on. And I found through research, and I will tell you this, if you ever ask Spirit a question, they'll lead you there in some of the craziest paths you cannot imagine. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
I know you got a good story on this. You know this. They will bring you down the path of exactly where you needed to be, exactly what you needed to know. And you're just going, thank you. Wow, that was amazing. But this deeper journey that I started going into reading, something told me months ago, as you know, we haven't been able to have any fairs and expos because of the COVID.
Right.
But a few months back, something said, you got to go back to reading more and more and more. I read in my home. I take appointments 3 days a week. And something says, it's not good enough. Not good enough. So as soon as some of the fairs opened up, the very first fair was Waxahachie just a couple weeks ago. Everybody was mask free. It was amazing. Amazing that it was a good thing that those of us who didn't want to wear a mask could. Those that did was free to do so. And I'd probably say it was about 50-50. But I had a deeper insight of people. And I knew I had another awakening. Absolutely knew that's what's going on. And so I said, okay, I don't understand. Teach me. And the message came that when you can read, your psychic abilities, your ability to move into with spirit goes deeper than the aura, that's very deep. And you can know things and see things and give better readings than you could have ever done without it. Awakening. That was an awakening for me.
So at first you were just reading on the surface, and now you're learning how to go deeper into the issues that a person is bringing to you.
I actually have been reading many years through spirit. A psychic reads your human spirit. A psychic medium reads through the spirit guide or the spirits that you're the person that you're reading, and then they will talk with your guides, and they can tell you information that a psychic may not be able to get to. Mm-hmm. They can actually converse back and forth. You can actually speak to their ancestors, which is common for me. It's amazing. It is so amazing. So you can read deeper. When you get past even that, and you can go past the person's aura, it is my understanding that that's a very deep, deep reading. You've gone very deep. And that's what I have found as I sit down at the table with people. It goes very deep, deeper than I've ever known it to go in my entire life.
That's nice. It's a nice place to be.
I can tell things, see things, hear things that I never could before.
Could I ask you, in all the years that you've done this as a psychic, have you ever had communication with entities that were not human?
I have never had an interaction reading with a person, with an entity that was not human or immortal. Well, immortal, so the spirits are immortal, but it's something where it's like a planetary being or a malevolent figure. No, not when I'm reading.
Yeah. As a kid, I read Edgar Casey's book, or a book about Edgar Casey, I should say. And he was quoted as having said that there are entities on other planets that die and then can reincarnate here.
And can reincarnate here. That I do believe. I have heard that as well. And yes, I do believe that. Now, would we recognize them as such? That gets into your soul. I believe that our spirit, when we die, becomes immortal and stays with the soul. One soul, one spirit. So I don't know how that would work if the planetary beings have a different spirit than us. I just don't know the answer to that. But yes, I have had that question asked before.
Now, Erin's had some contact with non-human entities, I believe.
Yes, and I also have memories of being a non-human entity. So I absolutely believe that they can incarnate here on Earth. So, in a human body, but I think that a lot of us that do not feel comfortable. We do not feel comfortable in these bodies. We do not like it. It is not fun here. And I think that you'll hear that from many, many people who know that our soul origin is not necessarily Earth. I think one of the main terms you'll hear with that is a star seed. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, Terry.
It does, but I had never, the soul, what did you say? The soul, not connection, but you called it, so you said
Soul origin.
the soul origin is that of a star seed.
Yeah, we come from,
would be different than maybe what we know as spirit. And that's why you would not be comfortable. What do you think about that? You think that's true?
well, I think that, well, when we look at the whole picture, all souls are one and come from this original creator, this prime mover, whoever the highest source is, right?
Mhm.
But I think that as we incarnate into different beings, and sometimes we don't have physical bodies depending on where we go, because I do remember being a non-corporeal being in different places. But I do know that Earth has a completely different resonance, and I don't even know why I'm talking about this right now, but this is information that's coming up right now. There's a different resonance here, and I know that souls that incarnate repeatedly on Earth are struggling at this point, and I believe that's why the star seeds have started coming in. I believe they started probably around in the 50s and have increased in their numbers, and they are here to help lift up the vibration of the planet as a whole. And I'm getting goosebumps, so that tells me I'm onto something.
Confirmation.
Yeah, body knowledge, that's how that works. So the more that come here and help the humans understand, to grasp the love and the light, and those sorts of things, and how to focus and shift away from the fear, shift away from hatred, shift away from being separate, the better everything will be around us. And I think that that's where we're at right now, is a whole bunch of these beings who have incarnated on Earth that are not necessarily from here are starting to wake up and understand what their purpose is here.
And then we all become one and everyone is comfortable with each other.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
But that's a beautiful explanation, because the reason, Erin, I believe that you were saying that is because someone is listening that really needed to hear it as confirmation for themselves. I believe that is why you got goosebumps. I believe that's why it came in. That message came in from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Amazing.
Mhm.
I would imagine that doing the type of work that you guys do, and I don't have that ability, but I would imagine confirmation is a huge part of what you do, and it just bolsters your belief that, yeah, I'm doing the right thing, I'm on the right path.
Absolutely. I truly, I'm a firm believer in confirmation, Erin. What about you?
Absolutely. And it can come in so many different forms. The goosebumps is and I just got it again. The goosebumps are like immediate confirmation for me. If I am doing a reading for somebody and I get covered in goosebumps, I'll say, pay attention to that because I know it's important, because I've just got proof that it's important. But then confirmation comes in other ways. Repeated numbers. You see 444, 1111, you see, all of those things. That is confirmation from spirit. Yes,
So
you're on the right path. Yes, keep on going. And then, I mean, there's symbols and you just have to, it's like an expansion of your awareness, and confirmation can come from all over the place. You happen to see a bird that you've never seen before. I think, ooh, what is that? Look it up. And then I'll say, what is the spiritual meaning of seeing this animal? And there is information for me, and usually confirmation involved as well.
absolutely. That is so, oh my goodness, you're so spot on with exactly how I believe as well. Also, I believe that we have spirit guides, and I believe we have spirits. And this is my belief. And it comes from listening very carefully for many years. I believe our spirit guides have once been, they've tasted material things. They were human. And that's where a lot of people, and I have found this out by speaking with many people and a lot of studying, goes into your spirit guides can be your ancestors. I don't believe that your spirit guides are always your ancestors. Now, you may hear people say that, and you may believe that, but I personally think your spirit guides have been many things. I don't believe it's just your ancestors, but that is my belief. And then your spirits, they're angelic. Your spirits, they watch after you on a different level, if you will. I believe when you hear a message from your spirit guide, the spirit guide will say, well, Phoenix, you might want to think about this, or maybe you should do this. But when the spirit speaks, I believe that our spirit guides are above us. Our spirits are around us, all around us, and they protect us 24/7. But when the spirit speaks, which I call angels, it's different. It's, yep, this is it. You've heard a message. It's clear. You know exactly what it is, and you know exactly what to do. Do you relate to that?
I do. And I'm wondering how much Terry would actually relate to it as well once he starts to like shift his thinking a little bit, and seeing this broader view, and seeing that information is coming to him and he just hasn't recognized it as that. There are some messages that are extremely cryptic, and like, well, okay, what do you mean by that? And you have to like go down a rabbit hole in a way, like trying to figure out what am I supposed to do? What is this that you're telling me? I don't understand. And then there's the other messages that are very cut and dry. um Case in point, my moving here to Colorado, had I didn't even have I had nothing here. I had everything going for me in Roswell. I was fine. And then all of a sudden I had to go. I needed to move. And so here I am, and I'm still waiting for the understanding of why. I'm sure I will be told why eventually. Um, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, a lot of stuff is very cryptic, and it can come in symbols. Perhaps you dream repeatedly of, I don't know, a particular animal or something, and you've got to dig into it and see what it means. But then there's the cut and dry. Yeah, I agree with you completely on that.
Something is telling me that your move to Colorado was, you already know why. You just haven't accepted it.
Perhaps so.
That's what I'm getting. And sometimes you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We have to dig really, really deep, and hence saying, as I said that a second ago, sometimes we dig really, really deep and we don't like where we're going and we shut it out.
Hmm.
You know, I had the privilege of speaking with Phoenix on the phone shortly after we met through Sheila Gay, and and you were very kind and kind of did a nice reading for me over the phone, and I appreciate that very much. And then at the very end, you validated the thing for me by pulling up a single word, and she said, "I don't know what this word means, but it's going to mean something to you," and it sure did. So it was interesting. You were validated, Phoenix. You were confirmed.
And that word came to me, and it came to me 3 days before we met through the appointment, and it kept coming, and I'm like, no, that's what, and it never told me, because that's exactly what it was. It was there to be used for a purpose of validation. I did not need to know why, but I sure did want to, because I didn't want to make a fool out of myself.
Well, you sure didn't.
No, I didn't. Well, I didn't. Spirit took care of that. Absolutely.
Trust.
But that was, yeah, I'd forgotten that. That was amazing, wasn't it?
It was amazing to me. It sure was.
It was to me too, actually, because I just didn't know. Usually I'll know if I get and I'm sure Erin will relate to this too, as being a psychic. You get a message and you go, okay. And then tomorrow you'll get the other part of the message and a little bit deeper on the message. And the first thing you know exactly what is going on many times before the person even sits down at my table. I already know. But in this particular case, it just wasn't going to let go of the information with you. It just stuck right there. Didn't give me any other thing. Nothing. I mean, I didn't get any read at all before our visit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to roll with this. And we did. Yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very nice. And I thank you for that.
Yeah, you're most
welcome. Ask you guys, because you'll have more insight to it than I have. I've come to embrace reincarnation in the past few years, and I'm just curious. If someone dies, say in 1955, and then reincarnates in 1967, what did they do during those 12 years? Where were they? Were they in what Christians would refer to as heaven? Were they in Cincinnati or limbo? Or what state do they exist in as souls between incarnations?
Well, I'll answer that the way I believe it. And if Erin, you want to go first, or you want me to answer that?
No, you go ahead, because I've got a pretty unique view on that has been provided by E.T. So.
Oh, well, I can't wait. Okay, I'll be brief. So I believe that spirits, when they pass, they can linger here for many, many different reasons. I believe that they do what they call swim the death current, or pass through an area of learning. And they can stay here because maybe something's not finished. Maybe they need to be here for support for someone. But then the time comes when they make a choice to come back, to reincarnate and start over, but only once they have learned the things they needed to learn, or do the duty they needed to do, or, as I call it, pass through purgatory. And I believe purgatory is in many, many different levels. I know purgatory is, as far as I know, it's not in the Bible, but I do believe in purgatory. Yeah. And I believe that's what some of our spirits are doing as we connect with them. And when they are done, they can reincarnate a better them.
And it's kind of up to the individual to decide, I'm ready, or I want to, rather than somebody saying, okay, it's your time to go.
I'm not sure.
Okay, Erin, let's hear yours.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear this.
Well, it's going to sound completely different from what you just talked about, Phoenix. Okay. But I don't think it's necessarily opposed to it. I think that, the information that I have received on how the soul works, and And I think of it as a quantum, the quantum nature of soul is basically what they have told me is happening. And as a soul as a whole decides to experience itself, what it will do is split into many different pieces, and each one of those pieces is a different life, and they will incarnate in different space-time locations, whether that is the past on earth, the future on earth, currently on earth, and another planet, who knows, a different dimension, it doesn't matter, but it's all the same soul experiencing different things. And the amazing thing is that there is no time or space, and so it's outside of that. And so the way I see it is everything is simultaneous. So even though I'm sitting here and speaking to you right now, I know that I am also alive in 1787 in Philadelphia, and I'm an ex-slave that escaped. And I know that, and I know my name, and I speak to her often. Her name is Ermine. And so I have a connection with her, and I have a connection with many of my other selves that are alive and in these different space-time locations. So what happens when one of these pieces dies, we just kind of go back to the source, back to our soul, the whole. And that is just how I have been taught how this works. And there's not many people that I have found so far that have the same sort of view. But it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't negate anything that you said at all, because as the being dies, wherever you're at, and on earth especially, it does take a long time to decide to pull back fully, because you're invested in your family. You want to make sure your friends are safe. You may have a message to impart. There could be lessons to learn, healings that happen before you can ascend in vibration back to the soul level. So absolutely.
So you believe this is fascinating. I've got to digest this and put it in. Oh, this is amazing. I This is my awakening. This is part of the awakening that I spoke of earlier. I believe meeting you takes me even deeper, because when I listen to you say that, I think of your higher self. Well, you can call on your higher self, and your higher self can be many places at the same time,
Exactly.
or have had experienced what you're going through now. And so when you call upon your higher self for needs, you may be reaching. I got this once a long time ago, just once when I was struggling very hard. And I said, higher self, who am I? And it says, you've been many things. Okay, well, who am I today? And so I felt at that moment that I had been many things. So when you take your soul and it splits apart and it does many different things and it comes back together, it's higher educated.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore your soul becomes even more educated. And that's kind of the same thing of talking about calling my powers from another life, my abilities from another life.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that is my understanding and my connection with Ermine in particular. She's very close to me. I actually, when I originally met her, I thought she was, a character in a novel that was like formed in my brain. Now I understand that no, I was just given all the information about her life and what she had experienced. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe she's a spirit guide. She's my spirit guide. And then later on, I understood, oh, she's me. She's me, and we're both existing right now, and for whatever reason we have the ability to communicate, but understanding that now I can communicate with all my other selves as well, and some of us are more advanced in these abilities than the others. Some are way more advanced than me, and just being able to share and shift healings and learnings, and if one of my selves is in crisis, then we can go and help her then. And it would be felt as if you are surrounded by spirits and or helpers and guides and things like that. That's just the way it feels. But being aware of it, um really does shift my understanding in the way that I personally function, and being able to call in and help and ask for, you know, all of these different things on all of these different levels, as well as the whole soul at the same time. Because as each one of my selves learns and raises in vibration, we become closer and easier to reach the vibration level of the higher self, which is that ascension idea that people talk about now, I believe, if that makes sense. Terry, you look
You know,
confused.
well, I am just a little bit confused. I
Oh,
kind of understand the concept of time may not be linear the way we experience it as human beings. Time
Mhm.
may have a different aspect to it. It might be, this might just be all theater or fiction. You know, maybe everything does happen at the same moment. I don't know. And that the soul can be fractured into different entities. Um, then at some point, do they need for this ascension to, you know, come back together as a whole and unified to make a complete soul? How does that work? Or am I just way out there?
No, these are good, excellent questions. I think that for a lot of this is understanding that we really aren't separate. We are separate, but we're not. And it's a flow back and forth between individuality and being all one. And I think that that goes on all levels, because as we as a soul are fractured into these different selves, yes, we can ascend to our full soul, but that full soul can ascend as well with other full souls back into source. And from my understanding of it, it is just a way to experience, because as a whole soul, we don't experience much other than what is above us. You know, it's a, this is really complicated. It gets very, very odd. So if you think of source all alone, just being source and wanting to experience, say, life or something else, there's you know, life was created somehow. So source has set aside life to the side so that source can look at life and life can look at source, right? So there's a relationship there, and understand more of the nature of self and other. Am I making sense with that?
absolutely.
And say that source has created individual souls, and so each individual soul then says, well, I want to experience what source has with understanding myself. So there's more created little selves, let's say, these different iterations of life from the whole soul, that can again look back at whole soul and say, okay, that's my higher self. And soul can look down and say, okay, I'm experiencing all of these different things that I wanted to experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm seeing this. It's just like stuff. It's just like downloads are coming in as you're speaking, and I'm it's almost uncontainable. So
When I mapped this out and I drew it out, it looked like a very complex, multi-layered dandelion. so, so dandelion has become one of those symbols for me for understanding how this works. And like I said, this is from like ET sources. I don't I don't understand why I've received this information on the soul and how it works, but I feel like it's important to impart to others. As far as linear time goes, yes, I believe that as humans need to have this sort of linear time. And I believe that has to do with our vibration levels, the density we're at, the, you know, the dimension that we live in. But I think that as we ascend higher, it is not, we are able to step outside of that. So as I focus on one of my other selves, say if I look at Ermine, I can see her from birth to death as a whole, being her entire existence. Does that make sense? And so I can access her at any age and any time
to help you today,
to help me today. Yeah.
to understand things on a different level. So from how I'm getting the download from what you're saying is that the soul breaks apart into many pieces of itself, and goes in the, I have many pieces of myself right now. I could tell you what some of the personalities of that self is. Many things that we want to experience and we don't get to experience in this lifetime, many interests. Today you're interested in this, tomorrow you're interested in that. So if you break apart and many of you can experience many different things, and then we can call, you're in the many different places at the same time, we can call upon that self for needs that we have. Like you said, you can look at Irma,
Ermine.
Ermine, Ermine, and say, hey, what's going on with me today? And you see her life, and it's almost like watching a picture, and you can pull from that the information that you need to satisfy the information that you need right now. I can see
Exactly.
it so clean. Yeah, it's beautiful.
You know, I get a lot of emails from people. I put an email address in the back of my first book, Incident at Devil's Den, and I said, look, if you want to talk to me, if you've had an experience you want to share with me, I'd love to hear it. So I've gotten 1,600 emails so far. You know, they come in every day. And I noticed there's this thread of commonality that kind of runs through all of them. And the people that have had really intimate experiences like I had very often report having a really vivid dream at ages like 4, 5, and 6. And I made contact with some of these people, and I'm like, you know, and they tell me all this vivid detail about this crazy dream, and the dream may just be nonsensical, or it may have some kind of you know, something going on, but they can remember, you know, real crisp details about this stupid little dream they had when they were 5 years old. And I'm like, well, can you remember what you got for Christmas that year, or where you went on vacation with your family, or, you know, who was at your birthday party? And all that stuff's long gone. But some of these people, one was 67 years old. This dream is stuck with them for a lifetime. So do you think that that's a message, or that's something? There's got to be some significance to that, I think. And often these people that have had this dream phenomenon, whatever it is, go on to have experiences with either E.T. or near-death experiences.
I personally think that could be something reaching out, a message. Yes, absolutely a message that they may not have been able to understand deeply enough to help them, or maybe it was just a message that they needed to hold on to that dream, to hold on to their reality.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like it has to be something significant. It can't be just a dream.
It's no coincidence. There are no coincidences. Right, Erin?
I agree with that. And I think that it's interesting that it always is very young age. I have a dream that I can remember from the age of 4. I don't have like explicit details of it, but I remember having that dream at the age of 4, which is just, to me, phenomenal. Why, how could I even remember the dream at 4 years old when I don't remember many of my dreams on a nightly basis? So I think that it's really interesting. Did you have a dream, Terry, at that age that you can remember?
You know, I don't recall having a dream, but I recall 2 instances. Well, I had some strange things happen when I was a kid, but I remember looking out of my bedroom window and seeing what looked like a crescent moon go by my window. And I'm sure I was awake. I'm absolutely certain I was awake. And the second one happened when I was really, really young. I mean, maybe even 3 or something. And I'm looking out my back window at our apartment in St. Louis, Missouri, and just the garages and alley and stuff. And I blinked, and it was like a courtyard with gas lights and a horse-drawn carriage scene, just totally weird. And I blinked, and it was gone. So I don't have a dream, but I have those 2 events stuck with me. So whatever they may be, whatever the message may be.
Wow.
I've always had an affinity for things British, and wonder if maybe that was, you know, someplace in London or Great Britain I was looking at whenever I had that vision. And I'm sure the moon was a UFO. I mean, what else? Right?
That's what I was thinking. But that flash of the courtyard reminds me of, the little boy who knew that he was going to be dying. He knew he had died in a plane crash during World War II. It's the same thing, and I think you're about the same age, right? About 3 or so, and you're having this flash and this understanding. And I wonder if were you seeing another time? Had you stepped out of time at that point and you could see an earlier time, and it was actually that particular courtyard that was 100 years before? Or were you having a flashback or connection with another self, or a past life memory, as people would say?
Yeah. And I don't have a clue. It
I
was
don't know.
it was literally like a 3-second event, but it stuck with me.
3 seconds at the age of 3, and you remember it still. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I just started Terry's book, The Reckoning,
Yes.
and I'm about, I don't know, a chapter into it, very, very, but Erin will be able to relate to this. The day that they packed to go to their camping trip was the perfect storm. In the paranormal world, as you know, we'll forget our camera, our batteries will go dead, our equipment will turn off. They forgot everything that they meant to pack. I don't know if you've read the book yet or not, but at the beginning of his story of The Reckoning is a perfect storm for something setting up a paranormal experience.
It was really, really unusual because we were excellent with the planning, but when the execution time came, the wheels just fell off. Mm-hmm. And we weren't that inept. We really were not that inept. And it's crazy. We didn't bring anything more than what we needed. Mm-hmm. We only brought what we needed, really.
Yep. You only wound up with what you just had to have. All the other things that would have made your trip more amazing, more documented, was not there.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by the perfect storm to a paranormal experience. In the paranormal, you can get deep into an investigation and all of a sudden, drained, no batteries. They can have been in maybe 10 minutes, drained, gone, because for whatever reason that experience wasn't supposed to be recorded.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I've had it happen multiple times, so many times it's amazing. Any paranormal investigator will tell you that. Gone.
So that's kind of validation in a way for what happened to us.
Absolutely. I thought
so. My friend Toby had a camera. I left my nice camera at home, but he had a camera. He had a little camera, a foot and a half from him in a backpack. And the thought to using that camera never crossed either of our minds.
No.
I think that some things just have to be experienced. And when we put a camera or, a sketchbook, any of those things between us and what's happening, we miss it. And we don't fully, immerse ourselves in the moment. Mm-hmm. We kind of step back and protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think that makes it all that much more real to us, is that we are so fully immersed in what's happening in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nothing, like you said, nothing to let us put up our guard or validate it in the future with something other than our own feelings, our own experience. I agree.
So there is nothing more than the moment. Past is gone and the future hasn't happened yet. So all we have is right this moment.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Which makes it really hard for psychics to say this is really happening, because then there's no proof. and E.T. experiencers as well. Terry, you're lucky in the fact that you have the physical evidence. On the one hand, of course, having the physical evidence proves it, and it makes it like, well, yeah, look at all this crap that I went through and it sucked. I don't have any physical evidence, which makes it tough. but it seems that people believe me when I speak, so I guess that's a good thing. But it makes it, all of our lives are impacted by the physical evidence and the proof behind it. And getting people to understand and believe without is a completely different challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally believe in the unknown. I believe that the unknown can be as important as the known, sometimes even more important, because we search harder, we look closer, we pay more attention.
I used to take my mother to Catholic Mass when she was older, and there's a line that the priest says during Catholic Mass, and it goes, "I believe in all things seen and unseen." And I thought, that kind of validates that there is stuff that we can't experience with our senses, with our five senses.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to thinking, aren't we kind of like Helen Keller, just kind of stumbling around out here? I mean, our perceptions are so limited.
I think what few validations that we get are priceless. I had an experience once with a master halo. I will never forget it. Never.
Can you share that?
Yeah, it was. I went to. I do a little journey off of the Honest Guy. The journey to the Akashic Fields, shamanic journey to the Akashic Fields, and I did it several times. It's on YouTube. I did it several times, and the Akashic Fields, I call it Akashic Fields. The Akashic Fields is basically the computer of all of our lives. It holds all the information to all of our lives. Are you familiar with that, Erin?
Yeah.
I've heard the term Akashic records.
Records, absolutely. Well, you actually go to visit the Akashic Field, where all the Akashic records are. And I went several times. I'm not an Akashic reader. I don't do any of that. But I did go and you always go with one question on your mind, with something on your mind that you need an answer to. And I must have gone 5 times, I want to say. And I was in this meditation and wasn't really looking for anything, just totally meditating, totally relaxed. And a master halo came up and sat on my left, sat beside me. It was maybe 3 seconds, but I grew. After that experience, I grew. He came to me. I was just sitting there, and I could feel myself sitting there, sitting on something. And I saw it. It came right in. The master halo came right up. He was very old, and he had on a white gown. And he came and he sat beside me, and he had a staff in his hand, in his right hand, and he sat on my left. And he just sat down, and I was totally aware, totally awake, totally calm. And I don't know what he said to me, but his face was full of so much wisdom that it was breathtaking. Lasted, like I said, maybe 3 seconds, 4 at the very most, and it was gone. I instantly woke up, came out of the meditation.
I've never heard of a master halo before. Can you define for me what exactly that is? What role he plays?
Well, the reason I brought it up is because of Erin's in-depth knowledge that has just brought me along another journey. I believe master halos are ascended and they no longer reincarnate. That's what I believe.
Okay.
So I believe that they have done their ascension. I believe in the Merkabah. I believe that they have ascended and they no longer, they have chosen to be a master halo.
would that be an equivalent of an ascended master then, term wise? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's where I came up with that, what he was that day. That's got to be a master halo, because his face was, again, he was old, very old, completely white hair, long. And I looked in his face and I'm like, that's a master halo. That's all I could say. And the wisdom again was breathtaking.
Did you get a vibe of, love or empathy or support and wisdom and kind of a whole bunch of things?
Peace,
Peace.
without a doubt. I didn't pick anything up at the moment of an influx of information or abilities enhanced. Nothing like that. It was a feeling of peace. It's not explainable. I don't have the words to explain it, but it was complete peace. Looking in that face was a moment you will never, ever forget, of just pure peace. Nothing more.
That's a gift.
And everything. Nothing and everything more.
And how did you notice yourself change after that?
My abilities grew again. My abilities have been growing on many different levels. Just as you and I spoke today, they grew again. Just to explain that. But I started thinking more. My wisdom and my readings and my life comes from my heart. I really believe in that. So I think my heartfelt wisdom grew even more. I have no interest in material things at all. I don't even think of it. And I mean, I feel like I've been blessed in many, many ways. But when I think of somebody, or somebody hurts my feelings or hurts me, I'm standing there trying to think what they can gain more than what it might do to or for me or against me. I'm thinking about, okay, what can I do to say, or the actions that I create, what can I do to help this person so that they don't do to anyone else what they did to me? And I really feel that way. There's a difference in wanting to do it and knowing it's the right thing than to know that's what you're supposed to do from your heart. I don't believe that we as people, and I know a lot of people would differ from this. I think I am nobody. I'm alone. I am nobody. What makes me is the people around me. I really believe that. The people that I come in contact with, the people who, when I go to a nice dinner, the people back there cooking the food, the waitress that got up this morning and left her children at home with a babysitter so she'd come to work and serve it to me. Those are the things I have gained since that time. And they're amazing. They go so deep sometimes that I can't even get there myself. But I truly believe that we are no one. It's the people around us that is important.
I've never thought like that before, but you make a good point, and that is that we come in contact with so many people in the course of what we do and just living our lives.
Oh, it's true. I mean, we couldn't go to the grocery store and buy groceries if they didn't have the clerk and the stock boys and the truck drivers that drove it there. We couldn't do any of those things.
Yeah. And in that way, we're all kind of connected, aren't we?
We are absolutely one. We are absolutely connected. And when you start thinking on those levels, you have a appreciation for people that is much more than you have for yourself. I mean, yeah, I know you're supposed to love yourself. I'm not saying that you don't. I believe that you should love yourself. But you should certainly love those around you that's helping you live your life.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I wanted to ask you too, before I forget, and maybe get your opinion too, Erin. maybe just one experience, the coolest haunted house experience you've ever had. Do you have one you could share with us?
Oh, there's been so many. It's hard to even think of one haunted house experience I've ever had. Oh gosh, well, mine is a lot connected with spirit. You want to go first, Erin? Or you want?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. Probably the one that the most recent, it pops into my mind, obviously, is that I was recently on an investigation, and there was 4 other women in the room. Jordan Moon and I, she's a part of Phoenix Rising Paranormal. She's my team member, and we were there. And then there was 2 other girls, or maybe 3, in the room, and we was in what a labor recovery room. Did not know that at the time. Did not know what that room was, but it drew me there. And we were standing there, and we connected with the SB7, with a woman. And she started asking questions. Where's my baby? Why am I here? I believe she said his name. So it generated with me instantly. I knew we'd made a connection. So when you make a connection, as you know, is it residual energy or is it spirit energy? So I wasn't sure. So I'm listening and I'm listening and listening, and all of a sudden the emotion came in. Well, when the emotion comes in, you know you've connected with spirit. Residual energy does not have the emotion. And I said, "Okay, tell me where you are. Tell me where you are." And she says, I'm in a room, and I'm this, I'm that. I kept asking questions, and I said, "Tell me what day it is." She said, "It's Wednesday." And I said, okay. So now I knew then that I had connected. I look over, and there's 2 women in labor pain. A strong emotion. Very strong in an investigation. So I'm like, okay, this woman I thought she was in labor. And then as I went through asking the questions, I realized that the baby had been born. And I said, "What day is it?" She said, "Wednesday." I said, "What day of the week? What day of the month is it?" She said, and what is the day? Is it, what day? She said, "The 8th." And I said, "What month? What month?" She said, "April." So I thought I had it. And I had the girl behind me was actually on the phone looking up the date to see if it actually was on a Wednesday. I said, "Give me the year."
Spirit box?
It came through the spirit box, through the SB7. I now have an SB11, but I still use my SB7 a lot, most of the time. And I said, "Give me the year, give me the year." She said, "I can't, I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much pain. What is that doctor doing?" And something to that effect. And I said, "Tell me the year, please tell me the year." She said, "I can't see." I lost her. So I believe that she was reliving that moment. Found out only just about 2 weeks ago that we were in a room in labor recovery. So I believe this woman died before she could give me the year. That was a very touching experience for me.
And you think that was maybe just a fragment of herself that was left behind? Or do you think that was her entire soul?
Well, I've got to work on that because I can't answer that question. I don't think I ever thought of spirits as being fragments. I don't know if I ever got that deep. I never believed that spirits were stuck. I never believed that that was the only reason they were here. I believe they were here for reasons. And now the question is, was that a fragment of a soul?
It could have been. It could have been just the pain, when you think about poltergeist energy being somebody's pain or angst or, whatever that has formed its own little personality and has separated. There you go, a piece of soul, the same thing. And as far as I've been able to tell in my own understandings of things is when we do cross to the other side, and we have passed those bits of us that are too heavy to ascend higher, the pain, the fears, the anger, the rage, all those things will stay here. And so I wonder, were you connecting with her at a different time and place? I mean, was it one of those times where you were bridging, the space-time continuum in a way and speaking to her at the time of death? Or was it, as Terry said, just that fragment of the pain and the fear that she had before crossing?
I don't know.
I
That's
don't know.
I
It could
I
be
had,
so many different things.
yeah, I had never, I thought, I considered it as spirit,
Mhm.
but now you've opened up another door over here. Talk about this again, for sure. There's no
Mhm.
question. So what I do in cases like this, when I have doors open to me, as you've done today, I wait. And you know that is true. Now
Mhm.
the other question that you brought up today is okay, so I believe in waiting. Or do I ask maybe a fragment of me in another place? I don't know. But you see, it's already growing. Mhm, mhm. Deepening yourself in spirit or believing that you're anywhere close to knowing it all. I know nothing. The
Isn't
deeper
that
I
what they say? The more you know, the less you know, you know.
and that is so true.
Mhm.
Have
Mhm.
either of you guys ever heard of Emanuel Swedenborg?
No.
Swedenborg?
Mm-mm. No.
He was born like 1688. He was Swedish theologian and kind of a psychic. Yeah. You mentioned all the levels of purgatory.
Mhm.
Um, he wrote a book. He wrote a couple actually. As a matter of fact, in Austin, Texas, there's a Swedenborg church. There's several in Europe, and he wrote a book where he describes this. He would have these out of body experiences and would go and visit with an angel there as a protector and visit all these different levels of purgatory. And very much like, what's the name of the book?
Dante.
Yeah, Dante.
Yeah.
Dante's
Mhm.
Inferno, yeah.
Whoa. Well, then I would certainly love to study more about that
It's fascinating.
because I've never spoken till today. This is the first time I've ever actually um, spoken out loud about my feelings on purgatory. I've always believed it since a teenager. I believed in purgatory, and no one ever taught
Coming
me.
to my head when you said that was Emanuel Swedenborg. You might want to look him up.
Yeah,
Just,
I'm going to get that information from you and text that to me.
I will.
And I would certainly like to read that.
Yeah, I found a book in a bookstore that was written in like 1875 that had all of his first person accounts of when he went on these voyages and explored these different levels of purgatory.
You found that book in a bookstore.
I did back in the
Confirmation. There's a reason you found that book in a bookstore.
I bet. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I bet there was. I bet there is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe to give me this information today because I've studied purgatory, tried so hard to understand and put confirmation to my ideas. Mm-hmm.
They have a YouTube channel, the Swedenborgian Church, called Off the Left Eye. And it sounds kind of far out, but it's not. It's two very well-rounded people who talk about Swedenborg and his revelations that he had from visiting the afterlife. So yeah, I'll text that to you.
Yeah, please do. That'll be great. Absolutely.
So Erin, how about you? You got any really cool ghost stories you could tell us? Short, really fantastic ghost hunt.
Oh, using the spirit box for the first time, my team and I were investigating a murder site actually, and it was a company, a marble company in Roswell, New Mexico, and the people that were renting the home were having all of this experience and wanted us to come in and investigate. And on the site was their home, the work shed place, you know, kind of the garage where the man would do his work, and then there was like a barn behind it. And while we were in the barn, we asked who is here, you know, who's with us, and he actually came through and gave his full name on the spirit box, and that was just phenomenal. And we didn't even know what his middle name was, and he came, you know, he told us first, middle, and last name. And so that was my first experience with the spirit box, and that was really exciting. Which you know, if people listening don't know what that is, it's like a radio that through the channels, and they're able to somehow speak through this device. I do remember going into the home and where he had been killed, and being very highly disturbed that they hadn't actually, you know, like replaced the stove, because he was shot and there was a bullet hole in the stove still. And I thought, you would get this stuff out of here. This is disrespectful. And of course he's going to still be here. And I sat down, and we had the spirit box in the living room, and everybody was sitting in a circle seeing if we could get him to communicate more. And I could actually work on my own abilities in the moment, because I could feel him walk up behind me, and then our little sensors would go off, like the K2 meter would activate, and he would say something, and then he would recede. And I was in the moment actually having the validation of, yes, okay, I can feel it. Yes, he's approaching. And then I could see, there it is, you know, the EMF reader is activated, and when he would recede, I could feel it. And so it was so cool just being able to test myself in the moment and have instant validation, like, yeah, no, I really am feeling this. I'm not making this up. So that was a really interesting investigation, just on a personal level for me.
Wow. Yeah, I bet.
I have this app called Necrophonics. Have you ever heard of it?
I have it.
No, huh?
Have you ever used it?
I use it all the time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to start it and say, just, 60-second little exercise or something, and say, yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody out there?
I use a ghost radar.
Yeah, the necrophonics, a matter of fact, I've got video footage of using the necrophonics and reaching on a very, very deep level, a whole group of people. As a matter of fact, Sheila was there.
Mm.
Well, I didn't want to be disrespectful, but I thought maybe I'd see if, since, I've been on her show, you've been on her show, Erin was the last person on her
I
show.
was her last guest.
I thought maybe since the three of us are kind of alums, we could maybe just ask who's here.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Here we go.
All right, I've got another app that I will pull up. I use a thing called Ghost Radar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious now too, see if anything comes through.
Okay. Is anyone here? I got it muted. Yikes. Is anyone here to talk to Phoenix, Erin Montgomery, and Terry Lovelace?
Yes. Sheila, are you there?
Yep.
Sheila, we all miss you.
Sheila, are you there?
Sheila, do you have a message for us? Reach him.
Is there more than one person there? It sounds like a male as well as Sheila.
Yes.
All right, my phone just said wolf and now it says animal. I mean, this is what I'm looking at, and there's an entity standing near.
Step aside and let Sheila talk, please. Sheila, are you there? I am. Let her speak, please.
Sheila, can you speak to us one more time? Did I lose my microphone?
No.
We would like to speak to Sheila. Yes, I'm serious.
Did you pick up those whispers?
Say it again.
The whispers? Can you pick up the whispers?
Mhm.
And
Is Sheila there?
is Sheila there? Let her speak, please. Can you say my name? Phoenix is here. Can you say hi?
Ghost.
You have a question?
I thought I heard one of them say, listen to me.
Do you have your SB7 on you, Erin?
I don't. I just moved and all of my equipment is packed away. The ghost radar just said Ellen, which is interesting. And there's a person standing to my right.
Phoenix, as someone very familiar with Sheila, do you think that yep sounded, there was twice that I got a yep that sounded like her.
It
and
did.
it was a direct response. Did you hear anything else that you recognize that might be from Sheila?
Just the Yelp.
Yeah.
That was 3 confirmations. Do you remember little D?
Who?
Do you remember the little trigger object that she had that she loved to take to investigations?
No, you know what? I only know her from radio.
Mhm.
So
That's right.
yeah, we didn't live that far apart. That's why we planned to do a ghost hunt together.
Mm-hmm.
But
She would have enjoyed that so much. She loved investigating. I noticed on Facebook before she passed, she had been to several investigations in Jefferson, and it just filled my heart so much to know that she was doing so much investigating. She loved it so.
yeah,
Mhm. She
my
did.
headphones just quit.
Interesting.
There you go. Just what.
Well, that's different.
Well, I've got my SV7 sometime when we have the time. Mine is just in there on the kitchen table.
Well,
I
let's
use-
do that next time. I'd love to do that.
Mhm.
And you know what? We're coming up on an hour and a half. I think we've eaten up enough of your Sunday afternoon.
No worries at all. We'll do that sometime. Erin, it has been such a pleasure.
Absolutely. I am so glad that you have been able to join us for this show today, whatever. Do you have a website or anything for people to reach you for readings and things like that so you can advertise yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Actually, what I do for readings, I do have a website, ancientphoenix.net. And then for readings, I actually ask people to email me at phoenix at ancientphoenix.net. That is
Phoenix at ancientphoenix.net.
ancientphoenix.net. And my website is ancientphoenix.net. The world's on fire. It's kind of interesting. You open it up, the world's on fire. You go scroll all the way to the bottom and the whole world's on fire. It's kind of crazy.
Right.
But but I do readings 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I almost forgot to ask the audience, please, if you've enjoyed Phoenix and you've enjoyed our stuff today, please hit the like and subscribe thing. It really helps us out, and give us a thumbs up.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a few shout outs. Thanks to David for doing all the editing for our site here. Thank you for Tony Kane for our intro music. This is great. And next time our guest is David Mays, who describes himself as a walk-in. He is also an ET experiencer and very much looking forward to this conversation. So thank you everybody for watching and listening to the Devil's Den podcast.
Thank you, Phoenix.
Thank you all. Thank you so much for having me. Goodbye.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Standing under the great beyond, when dark is covered the